Oh, gotta get the focus right. What's up, guys? First YouTube video. And we're doing Taco Bell freaking lunch. I don't know if this could be considered a mukbang. But I got 2 seasoned beef grilled cheese burritos, and I also got the grilled chicken flatbread melt. Loads of fire sauce, because we need fire sauce. And a small Baja Blast. Before all meals, of course, gotta thank the one up above. So Jesus, thank you for this food. I thank you for this opportunity that you have given me, this day that you have given me. Let me not squander it, Jesus, and let me not succumb to the pressures of the enemy, to the attacks of the enemy. Just bless this food, bless this Taco Bell, bless this YouTube video, bless my YouTube channel, Jesus. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. This is my first time filming myself in any sort of capacity. But I kind of want to get on here because there are some things I'd like to share on some recent experiences kind of having to do with my family. And I figure why not do it while I'm eating some Taco Bell, because it's so easy to talk when your mouth is full. A little bit about me. I was born in Portland, Oregon. I'm the second eldest. My older sister, Mariana, is 28 years old. And I have 3 younger sisters. I'm the only boy. I'm the eldest boy. And man, is life a ride. I get a kick out of learning from other people's experiences, and I feel like when I hear people speak, I'm very good at 1, listening, but 2, kind of analyzing what they're saying and kind of taking a bird's eye view of their situation and pulling useful lessons and useful maybe tools for motivation that I can use in my life. And I think that's largely to do with the fact that, you know, my walk with God, He has grown me so much, and there's a lot that I have to learn, but there's a lot that I have learned since I was about 18. I'm 22 now, about to be 23 next month. March 23rd is my birthday. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Let me continue to eat my food, please. Done. Honestly, I would rate that out of 10. I would rate that a 5-6. You know, it's very subpar. I think any fast food in general, it can never really surpass an 8. If I were to think of a fast food item that was genuinely that good, like if I was at a fancy restaurant and they had that on the menu, that's what I would choose. I don't think there's very many things that would fit that criteria. Let me try to think. Oh, the Western bacon cheeseburger, I think is what it's called. The whole onion rings, bacon, barbecue sauce, what have you. That I would get it every single time I went to Carl's Jr. I actually brought my iPad so I could record on that instead. But it doesn't fit where my phone fits, where you are right now. The screen is too large, essentially is what I'm trying to tell you. Recently, the last few years, ever since COVID happened in 2020, time has just felt like...
Time has felt so strange. I sense
it differently. I sense the pace at which the years,
the 5 years since the year 2020 have passed, have moved faster than my previous, 20 years of life? No, 18 years of life, what have you. And it's just so weird. It literally feels like a different world after COVID. I remember when COVID hit, it was March. I was in my senior year of high school and I was doing terrible. My junior year, the year prior, I had some truancy bouts, right, with the school. They kind of revoked my boundary exception. I had to move to the more ghetto school called Fort Vancouver High School, where I was sent to finish my high school days. I transferred to Fort Vancouver my senior year, and I could not get myself to show up for school. Not even, especially not on time. My first period started at 9 a.m., I believe, and I would not leave school before 9:30. I have to take this public transportation called the Vine, which is kind of an accordion bus that you're supposed to pay for, but I mean, come on. I'm a student. Yeah, I just couldn't get myself to go to school. I didn't have many friends going there either. Every lunch, I would just go to my next period class, which was my photography class, and I would sit with the photography teacher, and it was sad. It was sad. I wasn't a very outgoing person. I was really introverted, but I wanted to be extroverted. I wanted to be out and loud and have friends, this and that, but it just wasn't in me at the time. And so I was just very kind of awkward in that time. I didn't speak to many people. Eventually, though, I did find a group of friends. The other Hispanic Mexicans kind of took me in. Started sitting with them at lunch, But that still wasn't enough to get me to go to school. And I eventually just stopped showing up. No, I lied. Eventually, I got put into a credit recovery class, which was going to be my third period of the day. And I would show up for that class. I would show up every now and then, every time that I would go to school, every other day or so. But even then, I still wasn't doing much work. I was just listening to music. I remember at the time, Kanye West's Jesus is King had just dropped while I was in that class, and that just took all of my attention. Everything went into that, and that just was the end of school for me. I stopped going, and man, I keep lying. I did not stop going. I was in that credit recovery class. I got pulled aside, and the teacher was like, man, I'm gonna paraphrase what she said. You suck at school. You need to do online because this isn't working for you. And that might not even work for you either because it's all on your own motivation to continue. There will be online classes, and it's through this school that you go in only once a week, meet it with the teacher. You're in the class with the other people that are in the same situation as you as well, and you get your work done. It's like a homeroom, essentially, just once a week, and the rest is online. And at that same time, my mother and her stepdad, my stepdad, split. They were one, became two. We were in Vancouver at the time. My mom split with my stepdad. We had to relocate because my stepdad wasn't going to move because he was the primary one on the lease or whatever, what have you. That was him. Let me take a bite of this real quick. That's what I'm talking about. Anyways, as I was saying, at the time I got transferred, or maybe it was a month or two after I got school. Right before COVID hit, right before everyone had to do online, they put me in online. And I was doing it. I was trying a little bit. I was going every week because my mom would make me go. She would drive me, make sure I was there, whatnot. Then the split happened, and my mom had to relocate. And we actually didn't have a place to live at the time. My mom didn't really work, so she couldn't really afford to get her own apartment. So what we did was we kind of split off a bit, and I went to go live with my grandmother in Clackamas, who had an apartment there. And my mom and my sisters, they all were staying with one of my other aunts for the time being, until she got approved for a hotel. And then she started staying at the hotel during the time that she was finding work and finding an apartment to move into. That's when I moved in with my grandma in Clackamas. I was still enrolled in that school, but now I couldn't go. I didn't have a ride to make it in every week to cross the bridge over to Vancouver and make it to the homerooms. So it was strictly online. Every morning I made sure to wake myself up or get up and get ready at the same time that my grandparents were getting ready for their work. And I would get up, get dressed, log onto the computer, see that little progress bar, and see that I was about this long on the screen, right? And I was about this far in. And I didn't have any motivation. I didn't care about the outcome of anything. I don't think at that time, I don't care if I died. Not that I was depressed or suicidal. I just kind of was drifting and not really seeing the possibilities, and saying, hey, like what I do now is going to set me up for success or for failure, right? I didn't know that. I was a kid, and every time someone asked me, what do you want to do with your life? I don't even know that. I don't care. I don't know. I still don't know. I want to be a firefighter one week. I want to do this one week. I want to be a chef. This and that, and nothing ever stuck. Nothing ever took. I was really lazy. I was raised. I love my mother. I have respect for my stepdad. And I am grateful that I never had to go without eating, and I never had to go without a roof. But there were other things that I felt like I kind of grew up, now looking back, that I lacked. That some other people that I'm around clearly had that in their life, and their lives turned out a bit differently, are turning out a bit differently. They're at a different pace than I am. And it was a little disheartening, I guess, when I realized that. To give you an example, one thing that I felt like I grew up without was financial knowledge. My mother didn't save. My stepdad didn't save, right? For all that I knew, that money is something that you could borrow from somebody and then pay them back one day. And if you don't, who cares? Because you might never not see that person again. So that's kind of my preset thought that I had in terms of money. I didn't know that you can make it work for you. I didn't know that you need to save. I didn't know that there's more things that you can do with your money than simply getting paid and then blowing the whole thing, not saving a single dime from that thing. That's just one thing that I felt like I could have used, a little bit in my adolescence to develop my brain in I guess the correct way. But God's timing is perfect, and I've since learned that. And just because I'm going at my pace, at this pace, I've only gotten this far, It's not something to be embarrassed about, to be ashamed. I had no control over how I was raised. You know, I only have control over what I do now that I'm a grown person and have my own decisions to make. And at that time where we were split between my family, I was living with my grandparents. I had always been going to a Christian church since I was about maybe 3-4 years old. That's when my mom started going, you know. Since then, God has always been in my life. But it wasn't up until a few years ago that I really developed my own relationship with Him. When you're growing up in church, when it's the only thing you know, when you're molding into it, but at the same time you go to school and your friends cuss and your friends like to watch, you know, these certain videos, or they like to do these certain activities, smoke, drink, all these kind of things. It's very hard to look at that, to be around that, and not participate, not take into it. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's a willpower thing, right? It's a you decide thing. But I had no willpower at the time. I had no power of any sort. What I had was a desire to be liked by people, and so I did what I saw popular. Very, very much living a double-sided life, which you can't tell me every Christian high schooler is not doing, you know, at some degree. Everyone is hiding something. Absolutely everyone is hiding something. And I just know that from experience. But at that time, I was living with my grandparents. I was trying to do the school, but I couldn't get myself to care about it. So that's when I stopped. I stopped showing up for the classes, and I'm pretty sure they just unenrolled me. I never heard from them again, never got a single letter, never got a call, never got an email. Essentially, that was the end of it. It's like you take a match and you place your fingers over it and it's gone. That's it. At that time, my relationship with Christ also was superficial, because I was still drinking, I was still smoking, I was still doing these things. At that time, I was even vaping. I had just started vaping when I first moved in with my grandma. Sorry, Grandma. I had the, what are those? It came out right after the Juul. I think it was like the Puff Bar. Like those little, it looked like a Juul. It was like a little rectangle. That freaking Puff Bar. And I only smoked it because I like to smoke. I didn't do it to get a head rush. I hated that. I avoided that. I would only literally do like one hit just so I could ghost it. Sometimes I wouldn't even. It was gross. I hate having a head rush. It makes me feel like, it's not good. Don't recommend it. It's gross, disgusting. Blech. I started doing all these things and I was still going to church, but I just felt nothing. I would go there. My mother knows this. My pastor knows this from me telling him. I have never spoken in tongues up until that point. I couldn't tell you if I have the Holy Spirit inside of me, if I've been filled with it, you know, if I've done that, if I've experienced that. I couldn't tell you. I genuinely did have times where I've prayed and repented around that time and before, but I never felt anything. And that started to build up in my life. I started to say, well, every Friday night, every Sunday morning, I'm going to this place, and I get out and I feel the exact same. And this is what I have to do for the rest of my life? No, I don't want to do that. And as soon as my mom got an apartment in Milwaukee, we moved back in together. That was around 6 months after we had left Vancouver, I believe. And that is also when I started working at my Chevron. But I also started smoking cigarettes when I was there because they were so easily accessible to me. I started smoking the Camel, the Turkish pack. It's like a gray silver color. And again, I only did it because it looked cool, because I'd watch movies and I'd watch Robert De Niro. And I'm like, dang, I want to be De Niro. So I started doing that. I'm eating very slow. I was still continuing to smoke weed. As a matter of fact, I would get tipped with weed. It only happened once or twice, but it happened. One time, it was my coworker. The day was super slow. He always rolled his own cigarettes outside, and this time, he was going to roll a joint. He was like, "Hey, you want this?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. Yes, I do. Took that home. My mom, typically whenever I got home, she would meet her and my sisters were always locked in the room, already asleep. I had my own room and they all slept in the other room. It was just two-story, 2-bedroom apartment. And I had my own room. That night, I got home and I was so excited about that joint that I cracked open my window. I put a towel under the door and I got to smoking. I was blowing everything outside. I thought I was good. I thought I was clean. I thought I was fine. Edgar is what I hear on the door. I panic. I throw the joint out the window. I shut the window. I don't even know what to do. I don't open the door. I say, "Yeah, what's up? ¿Qué pasó?" And I could already tell. I already knew what was up. She's like, "Ese olor, ba 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 ba, yada yada yada." I get in trouble. She tells me to open the door. I open the door. The smell smacks her in the face. And she says, "Wow, Edgar, now you've disappointed me." And I was freaking, that I just didn't even care. I said, "Well, you know what? That doesn't matter to me. Why would that matter? I'm my own person. I make my decisions. I'm 18." And she noticed in me. I saw her demeanor change. She noticed that she wasn't gonna get to me in that instance, so she just backed off. And what I took that as is, wow, like, you're not even gonna try. You're not gonna care. That's it. We go to sleep. We go to our rooms. We go back to our rooms, and I lay down in bed, and my check just hits $700, $600, whatever. No savings other than that. I only had that money right then and there, and I thought to myself, what can I do? I don't want to be here. I don't want to stop smoking. This is my life now. What am I gonna do? I've never flown on a plane before that. Honestly, I thought I needed my passport. It was $238 to get on the Amtrak from Portland, Oregon to Chicago, and then another $170 to Greyhound from Chicago. I believe with one like connection, one change of bus, whatever, along the way to get to New York. I was like, I can get to New York under $400? Interesting. Book. When did I book it for? The next day. So next day comes around. I start packing everything. I think the train was scheduled for 11 a.m. It was 9 a.m. I had everything. I had just packed everything. Mom, I need you to drop me off at the train station in Portland because I'm leaving. And It was a very sad look on her face, but she could tell that I had made up my mind and that there was nothing that she was going to say that was going to change my mind. And so she agreed, and she dropped me off at the train station. She cried when she said bye to me. I didn't cry. My sisters were there, my younger sisters, Nayeli and Grace. And I didn't really have much to say to them. Looking back, that was definitely a moment of cowardice. It's a little hard to talk about, actually. I need some Baja Blast. Anyways, I left, and for my flesh, for my sinful desires, it was paradise. I got to New York. I was there for a few days. And right after the second day, my money ran out. I had no money, and I didn't really have another check coming. Also, my work, I didn't tell them I quit. I just left, and I just stopped showing up. I was really, really bad. Didn't tell anybody. Didn't tell any of my other family that I was moving. I just posted on my Instagram story, like, snapped a photo of there, put the little location tag, Montana. That was the furthest extent that I went to in terms of telling people other than my mom where I was headed, what I was doing. String. Honestly, I'm getting kind of full. In my stomach. Someone last bite this. 2 down, 1 to go. Some dude just parked right in front of me. From view to the show. My hair's getting quite long. Last time I cut it, sometime last year, I was about to. Right here. It's about right there. I'll let you right here. Right here. Oh, November. That's November. It's been a few months. Anyways, back to the story. I was in New York. Hotel room. I think it was called the Pod Hotel that I stayed in for the first 2 nights, pardon. And after that, it's when I got a call from my cousin Jose Manuel. Shout out DJ J.O. who was like, oh, like, you're in New York? My dad, my uncle, has a brother in New Jersey. And if you're planning to stay in the area, he has a room for you if you want to stay there. I can put you guys in contact. Boom, boom. I said, you know what? I'm running out of money. So yeah, I kind of do need a place to stay. And I don't feel like I kind of want to go back quite yet. So I stayed, and I moved in with my uncle. New Jersey was sick at first. And then when I moved there, I started working with my uncle there, who was a carpenter. He did a lot of finishing work. He would do framing work sometimes, but a lot of installing cabinets, toilets. We built a couple decks over water a few times. And it was going good. I wasn't drinking actually at first because I was actually too shy to ask for anything, and I hadn't been offered anything yet. But one day we were working on a house. We were installing all the cabinets and doing all that on this house that was being ready to be flipped. And it was lunchtime, and my uncle was telling me about how later he was going to go to his friend's house where they're going to play pool, yada yada yada. And he's like, "But you don't drink, do you?" And I said, "Oh, as a matter of fact, I would love to." And that's when I started to spiral. He had a group of friends, about 6 or 7 people. Every now and then, every other day or whatever, they'd text, "Hey, come to my spot, pool tonight." We'd go, get absolutely hammered, come back home, work the next day, boom. That became normal to me, you know. I was actually in that time only drinking. I had smoked a couple times when people had brought weed to the function, whatever. But one time I was actually in the car and I asked my uncle, "Hey, if I give you money, can you buy me a pack of cigarettes?" And he actually sat me down and said, "Listen, drinking is bad enough as it is. You want to add something else on top of that?" He said, "You should pick one if you're going to do one, and not do both, because trust me, it's not the way to go." And I said, "Okay, I choose smoking." He said, "No, you can't really do that. That's not good. You're gonna drink and you're not gonna smoke." I was again too shy to really put up any fight, and I said, "Fine by me. I can still get tipsy. I still want to be tipsy." And so it was just liquor, a lot of beer. I lost my train of thought. I think I just went on a tangent there. When I was in New Jersey, my sister texted me 1 or 2 times, pretty sporadically. And all she really said was, "Hey Edgar, I miss you. Things are different without you here." And the first time I read that, it just broke me down completely. I remember I was drunk to the 9, and I was just trying to fall asleep in bed, but I couldn't. And that's when I hear the ding, check the message. It was my sister. And it made me sad, but I didn't do anything. I said, "Hey, I miss you too." But I was kind of ambiguous as far as saying when I was going to come back. I didn't say anything. I just said I just reciprocated those feelings. And that was that. And then about a month or so later too, essentially she texted me the same thing. She's like, "Things are hard right now. Things are hard without you." And it made me sad to read it, but still I felt no call to action. I felt no turn or change in my heart. I felt nothing different. And I was like, but my heart was just, I could feel my heart turning hard. I could feel all the emotion, everything just start to fade away, and I stopped feeling like myself. And now I needed to drink to feel normal, to be happy. And now that was my normal life. I was getting fatter, this and that. And eventually I watched the movie Boss Baby 2. And I don't know if you've seen that movie, but there's a song at the end of that movie called "Together We Stand." And it's essentially just a ballad about how tight-knit you could be with your family, and how beautiful that bond is, and how unique it is, and how situational it is, because those inside jokes they have with your sisters, those little moments, just because you're siblings, just because you're tied in like that, you can't really replicate that with friends. You know, you can't, as much as you might want to say, because at some point that friend is going to betray you, or you're going to betray that friend, or even worse, there's going to be a miscommunication where both of you might think you're betraying each other when that's not even the case, and a friendship is gone under nothing. But I watched that movie and I heard that song, and then after that I just added it to my playlist, and I was just hearing it all the time, and I would listen to it all the time, and I was like, man, this is a beautiful song. And then one day, the same thing, I was drunk as hell, and I had just bought a record player. I believe it was a Kai something. There was, at the New Jersey Mall, there's like this actual record shop, which was freaking sick, dude. And the girl who worked there, funnily enough, I saw her like 1 or 2 weeks prior at a brunch that I was at another table, and I remember just thinking to myself, man, that is a beautiful woman right there. Like, I could wife that up right now. But I was scared crapless. I had nothing to say to women except get away and back off. But I went to the mall one day with my cousin, and I saw that record shop, and I was like, dude, we gotta stop there. And guess who the cashier was? It was that girl. She was wearing the same green cardigan. It was this short, white, blonde, beautiful lady. Bombshell of a woman. And as soon as I walked in, I said, yup, I'm leaving with something. Maybe it should have been her phone number, but I spent around $400 on a turntable and some speakers. The speakers were Bluetooth. That's what my point of this was. I was laying, and I never got the girl's number. I was too afraid to ask her. But funnily enough, as soon as we left, my little cousin who I was with, Giovanni, shout out Giovanni, was like, dude, that girl was staring at you. And I was like, no. I don't know why, but even knowing that wasn't enough for me to go back and do anything about it, so I did nothing about it. Anyways, I was in my room again, drunk, and this time a little bit sadder than usual. And I was listening to music on the Bluetooth speakers, and that song came on, and it destroyed me. It just felt like at that time it was the first time I was away from my family for that long, ever. And the weight just started to sink in. If my mom needed me right now, I'm over 1,000 miles away from her. If she needed me today, she couldn't have me today. If my sisters died today, I wouldn't be there today. You know? And that just hit so deep in my heart. I remember it was around October now at that point, and I just started looking at flights that same night, and I said, you know what, I can't go another month being here. And it's so crazy, because for a time in my life, that was absolute paradise. No parents, no mom, I should say, no stepdad, no pesky siblings, no church. I do whatever I want, you know? But I truthfully have never, that was the worst time of my life. I didn't feel like the people around me were supporting me. Or if they were, it wasn't for the right things. It wasn't with the right intentions. It just wasn't under the right circumstance, you know? And I decided to come back. And I came back. And right before I did, as I was on the plane, being the man that I am, I downloaded Tinder. And I set it for Portland. And I said, I'm going to see what's available for when I get there so I can get active. And within the first couple of days, I think the actual day that I got back to Portland, I matched with this with this girl, and we started talking. We really hit it off. I had never had a serious relationship before then. I had been in a few talking stages with the intention of having relationships. Just never worked out. It was only one or two instances, you know. But I hit it off with this girl, and that just really took off, and it took all of my energy, and I invested all of my power into this girl, into that relationship. And at the time, I had no car still. I still wasn't at work because I had just moved back, and I was still quote unquote looking for work, but not really. I was just drifting, and I was buying as much time as I could go without having to work until my mom would say, "I need you to work." I was like that. I was a freeloader, and I wouldn't contribute. My mom actually got to the point where she was like, like, I need you to get a job, but like you don't have to help me. Like, it could just be for you. You just need to work. If it did get to that point because of how I was. And we dated for 1 year and 6 months. We started dating, I believe it was November 17th, and we broke up, I believe it was around the summertime. I moved back. I remember one of the first days that I was back here, I took a walk with my mom, and I was just kind of explaining to her a few things. And I remember one of the things that I told her was, as far as my life is concerned, as far as the future is concerned, I can't picture myself with a family and kids, with a career, or just any future at all. I couldn't see anything for myself. I couldn't see that happening for me. And I don't know what that's an indication of, but I really felt like my future just wasn't going to happen. Or it just wasn't going to happen to me. Like, I wasn't going to get those things. And I think that's pretty much about the best that I can explain that feeling. And I don't even remember what her response to that was. But we had that walk, and she asked me if I wanted to come back to church, and I said, you know what, I don't really right now. I'm just glad to be back with my family. And I actually just started talking to this girl, and I remember I showed my mom photos or whatever. I think I had a screenshot of them actually. My mom thought I was getting catfished, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, I started talking to Jordan. I would, every single day that she worked, I would ride the Max to go see her, just so I could walk her to work. Then I'd Max back, I'd come home, and then I'd Max to her again when she got off her shift, so I could meet her, so I could walk her back home so she wouldn't walk in the dark. And it really was a beautiful relationship. And I remember before that, the times that I had prayed, or the times where I was just like meditating and pondering to myself, I always thought, man, I've never had a girlfriend. Like, this is sad. Like, when am I going to get someone who cares about me just as much as I care about them? I don't feel like anyone does. But Jordan was that. She was an amazing girlfriend. And there's so many things about that woman that just made her perfect. But she was not called by Christ. At least not in the same walk that I had been. During that entire relationship, I considered myself an atheist. At that point, I'd gone that far. I would denounce God. God's not real. There's no God. We're just here for no reason. There's nothing special about this place. And even when I was saying that, in the back of my head, I just knew that that wasn't true. Isn't that funny? I just knew. Somehow. I would say it, and it's almost like I was trying to convince myself. I was saying God wasn't real so much just to try to convince myself, not because I believed it, because I wanted to believe it. But I didn't. I couldn't. I knew what the truth was, regardless of how I felt, regardless of what my stance, on what it was. And I think also at the time I was a little bit more liberal. And somehow that also kind of led me to even being even more against God. And so, not that that's a bad thing. To each their own. Everyone's makes their own choices. Honestly, if you were to ask me what my political stance is today, I would say shut up and read the Bible. She had not been called like I had been called. It's getting really sunny out here. Is that better? 11:33. I can't grow a mustache for anything, dude. I wish I had a mustache. I wish I had a full beard. That'd be cool. I'm 22 years old and I have 3 hairs on my chin. Cool. Mine and hers relationship quite literally took us around the country. Within the first 4 months of actually dating, we were kind of trying to figure out what we wanted to do with our lives. At the time, I was feeling very artistic, so I was saying things like I want to get into like film production, or I want to do something with school, or not school, with music. And she wanted to go to college. She wanted to keep studying. She wanted to be a business major because she wanted to open up her own coffee shop. And so her mom and her stepdad lived in Iowa at the time. We moved in with them, and it was beautiful. The city of Clear Lake, Iowa is one of the most beautiful towns in America. Go there, do a bike lap around the Clear Lake. Do that in the spank in the middle of summer. Do that in the morning. Ride your bikes around the lake, maybe 1 or 2 laps. I think it's about a 10-mile lap, I think. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. 6 miles, 7 miles. Do the lake lap. Go to Seven's restaurant there in downtown and have yourself a nice filet mignon, because it is the best steak I've ever had. Was a filet mignon at Seven's in Clear Lake, Iowa. Amazing. We lived there for about 6 months. Her stepdad got promoted to another job elsewhere. So we moved to Springfield, Missouri. In Iowa, I started working at a cookie factory called Michael's Cookies. And then I eventually actually got Jordan hired on there as well. So we were both working at the job. And that was very fun. That was very nice. Carpooling together, There are a lot of things that I miss about being in a relationship, but right now, if God isn't putting that in my life, it's for a reason. So I enjoy my solitude, because it's not really solitude. I'm never alone. Someone is with me right now, and he's the highest of the highs, and he has all the power in the universe. But Jordan's thighs I could caress, Jordan's hand I could hold, So it was kind of just those things is what I'm mainly referring to. During the latter half of our relationship, We were living in Springfield, and by that point, we had been living together for almost a year. Living together. Basically, man and woman, you know? Man and wife. Because we would just do everything together. We were essentially eloped without being eloped. And I started to develop anxiety because I thought, in the back of my head grew this thought, no way this is the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. And that is such a crazy thing to think when you're in a happy relationship, right? But that aching just grew in my heart more and more and more. And the love that I had for this woman slowly was replaced with a need for something else. A need for a change. Something in me was telling me this is not going to keep going. And I believe it was by the grace of God, you know, who was giving me discernment. Because our lifestyles were very different, and I don't mean to judge anybody or I don't mean to judge anybody, but here are my 2 cents. Someone who does witchcraft probably shouldn't be dating somebody who wants to serve the Lord. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. So that relationship ended, and it was a very brutal thing. Not one of the worst. It could have been a lot worse, but I should have thought it out. I had to break up with her, so I did. And at that time, we were back in Portland. I had saved up about $7,000 from working at the order selecting job that I was working out of Missouri. I said, hey, I'm going to save up money and I want to visit my family because I've been gone without them too long, so I just want to see them for about a week, then we can come back, and boom. On our way to Portland, the night before our flight, we were bickering about something unimportant, and that ultimately led to me saying, you know what, this can't go on any longer. We have to break up. The night before we both flew to Portland. To top it off, she was flying with her dog. Flying with a dog is kind of a lot. Flying on your own is a lot already. Having to do so with a dog is a little bit even more annoying. And that trip was understandably so the worst. Not just for me, but for her. She was crying a lot at the gate line. There was a couple in front of us, hugging, kissing. Man, that just was not it. It was not it. We were on the flight, sitting next to each other, and she kept asking me, well, you don't want to make this work. Really want to not do this? Do you really want to break up with me? It was so hard to say yes, this is my decision. But I had to, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't lie to this girl anymore that I could not be in that relationship any longer. And that was horrible, and I regret that a lot, and I've since apologized to this woman. I think a lot of those sorts of situations have now led me to believe and really shown me that, yeah, what you do really does affect people. So now when I walk through life, I am a lot more considerate because, I once wasn't. Anyways, I keep a Lego Batman in my car. What if I just put him what if he's me forward like this? Dang it. Stand up! Alright, whatever. I gotta open the door because it's getting a little hot in here. That breeze is nice. My life was shaping up to transform. Or I was shaping up to transform. God was working in me. Even though I was denouncing him, he was working in me. But instead of breaking up with her and saying, now this is my opportunity, now I'm going to go to the Lord, I'm going to get my life right, this and that, I did the opposite. I made new friends. I had a new friend group. Started drinking again. I started smoking again. I did shrooms. I did acid. I didn't do acid, I lied. Acid, I only did that back in high school. But I did shrooms, and I was involved in the things that I was into previously that just weren't good for me, because I just didn't want to deal with the breakup. I didn't want to think about Jordan, so I didn't. I never mentioned her. I never opened up to anybody about her. I just partied every day and every night, every single day. And I did that for a few solid months. I don't know if you could call them solid. I did that for a few months. I just want to say this and not say anything else. The Minecraft movie looks terrible. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to say. And honestly, I think maybe what we'll do is just do a part 1. This video recording is already over an hour long. I'm not going to post an hour-long YouTube video, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I mainly wanted to make this YouTube video because I've been planning on starting to film content for a little over 3 years now. But I'm always stuck in the planning stage. And today, I was on my way home, and I said, you know what? Today is the first day. Today I am here. Today I don't work. Today I start. And I don't know really what my content is going to be. Please like and subscribe. Please smash that like button. Please comment what your favorite Muse song is. Mine is Symmetry. It's beautiful. Good Christian recommendation. I recently found this artist by the name of Natalie Bergman, who does Christian music kind of in the style of oldies. Now, I don't really like oldies. They're boring, and most of them just sound exactly the same. But that stuff hits. If you listen to Shine Your Light on Me by Natalie Bergman, or which one is it? I think Take Me Home is what the other one's called. Those are very good Christian recommendations.